Yeah, well, let's pray that Liverpool can go on that massive unbeaten run that they need, and hopefully Forest can be the start of that. Well, hopefully they do so as well with a solid team. Let's pick our teams then, shall we, for Liverpool against Forest. Gorsty, if you want to go up first, presume Alisson Becker will be between the sticks, won't he? And if you want to select your back four as well that you're choosing.
Yeah, Theo was on mute there as you tried to point out that Arsenal was the start of the unbeaten run.
Actually, it's Chelsea. I'm doing these back through my head.
Yeah. Back five. Yeah, Trent starts at right back, officially, if not necessarily in practice. Trent at right back, Andy Robertson at left back, Virgil and Canate keep their places as well. I don't really see too much of a need to change it, given that Liverpool played on Monday night, Saturday afternoon. There's enough gaps in there to not have to make the changes, even though you can make the case of perhaps saving a few for West Ham the following week. But certainly with the back five, I'm going to keep it as it is.
Yeah, I think as you allude to there, Gort, you may see some changes across the coming weeks with the amount of fixtures there are. I mean, Theo, if you want to pick through your back four as well, and just on, I mean, Joel Matip has struggled with form this season, and with Liverpool's new tactic and Canate sort of covering across that right hand side, do you think Matip will struggle even more to get places in the team now with this newly adopted tactic?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Like, it helps having a pacier defender there, whether it's Canate or it gives Joe Gomez maybe more of a chance at some point as well. The fact that Joe Gomez can play as fullback as well. I think there was maybe this hidden feeling that Matip's Liverpool career is perhaps coming to the end. We know he's out of contract in a little over a year's time. If Liverpool want to raise any money on him, it's from selling him this summer. He has had so many injuries throughout his career. He was brilliant last year. He was crucial to getting that ball out of defence, getting it forward. And we saw him on so many mazy runs, leading to goals and assists. But this year, it's not happened for him. He's been one of those players where it seems like almost a season too much. And maybe there hasn't been the scrutiny on him as there has been on a Fabinho, just because he hasn't been able to play as much, he hasn't been needed as much, or when he would have had a run in the team, he's picked up these injuries. But unless there's injuries elsewhere, you don't see him getting that starting place back. Like, realistically, Liverpool don't have too many midweek games left. I know they've got West Ham coming up, but when you've got that whole week on the training field, most of the time, if you're staying clear of injuries, you can keep the back five pretty much the same. And that's going to give them the best way of getting clean sheets. Getting clean sheets gives you the best chance of getting victories. And getting victories gives you the best chance of getting into the Champions League. So keeping the same for me. I do have one question, though. What are we calling this formation now? Like, is it a 4-3-3 when we know Trent's got this little star, a little asterisk next to his name? Or are we going 3-2-2-3? Have we settled on something yet?
To save myself,
yeah. It'll save box midfield.
Yeah, it'll save myself the work when doing the team selector later to keep it as a 4-3-3 officially. But yeah, I would call it a 3-2-5 myself, I think, at the moment. I mean, maybe a 3-2-3-2, who knows?
3-2-5, isn't that basically what they used to do in like the 1920s, the WM formation or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah, the inverted pyramid, yeah. Yeah, reversing the pyramid indeed. Yeah, but Keith, I mean, you alluded that you were probably going to go for an unchanged back four as well. If that is the case, do you want to talk us through midfield?
Yeah, just the one change, bringing Thiago in for Curtis Jones, and that's no slight on Curtis Jones. I thought has been excellent. I just think, as he's alluded to himself, that obviously they are carefully managing this kind of injury of his. So I think he's played Chelsea he came in, then he played Arsenal, and obviously played Monday night. So, as we've all said, there's plenty of fixtures to play between now and the end of the season, and obviously he's done more than enough to kind of remind people of his qualities. But I just think, bringing in Thiago, obviously had the cameo on Monday night, and obviously had the cameo against Arsenal as well, where I thought it was really impressive, but more just to kind of make sure there's no, setbacks with Curtis Jones kind of thing. So, yeah, it'd be Thiago on the left, Henderson on the right, and then Fabinho in the six.
Yeah, I mean, Gorsty, how about yourself for the midfield? Because I think most of us are like-minded. It's quite harsh dropping Curtis Jones because he's been very impressive of late, hasn't he? But obviously, with the return of Thiago, he's such a huge player. How would you manage his return over the last, month or so of the season? Just on mute, Gorsty. Yeah. Go on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Go on.
Yeah, I think it might be a good one for Thiago to start, actually. Maybe a return for Harvey Elliott as well. Elliott, Thiago, Fabinho. I agree with Keith's point about carefully managing Jones. Yeah, he kind of has a bit of a weird thing now where he trains 4 out of every 5 days and he has a 5th day off. So maybe this is a good one for him to sit out and maybe we can look at him again for Tuesday night. But I do think there will be changes. So Thiago and Elliott would be 2 of those in the centre of the park.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, Ghosty, do you not think they need to be a little bit careful with, Thiago coming back from injury? Obviously, he's aggravated so many injuries this season, hasn't he? How many games have you been playing him for the last 8 of the season, say?
Yeah, no, really. I mean, if he breaks down again, he breaks down. Liverpool don't have loads to play for. It's not like you're resting him because you've got a Champions League final on the horizon or anything like that. So if he gets injured, so be it. But I can see why he'd look to carefully manage him at certain points, but that's just because that's what you do with a player like Thiago anyway. I don't really see that you're resting him for any particular fixture down the line. So I think maybe tomorrow might be a good time to get him in the team and to, we can strut the stuff, can't he, at Anfield Saturday afternoon against the team who might not come to Anfield with too much adventure in the lineup.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the reason why they signed Thiago, isn't it? To play against these sides who will come to Anfield, will undoubtedly play a low block, and he can hopefully unpick that one. Theo, if you want to talk us through your midfield selection and then also go into your attack as well.
I think it's harsh on Curtis Jones to drop him. I thought he's been really good the last few games. It's a stunning assist against Leeds. And I think the fact that he's not been tarred by Liverpool's poor form for the majority of the season because he hasn't been available, it's given him that little bit of a boost. The fact that he's come in and there has been a pickup, like he can play without that fear, without that weight hanging over his shoulders because he's free of it. We're seeing so much more confidence from him in form. I know Gorsty said about the injury thing, and it's just tomorrow the 5th day, or do they get another day out of him there? Because he is playing well. I think if he is fit, he keeps his place. But then at the same time, I get the argument for Thiago. Like, this is the game they signed him for when you got these pragmatic teams that will just pump it long, put men behind the ball. You need him to get on the control possession, pick those holes through. Maybe if Forest are just going to go defensive, there's an argument that you don't need one of Henderson or Fabinho. Like, you have one of them as the 6, and you have Thiago and Jones either side, because Jones has shown that he's got that physical side to him. He's a taller lad. He's good at winning the ball back, and he covers the yards, doesn't he? He's running around and getting all those distance in his legs. So maybe that's a way to go. Potentially, the argument is Fabinho could drop out because he's got this yellow card thing, doesn't he, hanging over his head. There is a 2-game suspension looming.
Yeah.
And it seems strange to say it because there's been so many times in the past where he's been crucial to Liverpool. And if he got a 2-game suspension at this stage of the season, it would be the end of the world. It wouldn't really seem that big a loss now if he did pick up a 2-game suspension. But when you've got Tottenham on the horizon, maybe just tread carefully with him for the next couple of games. You could put Henderson as the 6 and see where it goes. But I think Thiago needs a game at some point. Jones has been superb. Let him keep his place. And in the front 3, well, Salah keeps his place. Gakpo keeps his place. Diaz is nowhere near ready for a start, as Kiefer was saying earlier on the pod, so he's on the bench. And it's just between Núñez and Jota. One of them starts this game. The other one of them starts West Ham. Let us keep it the same for this one, and then we'll swap it against West Ham because Núñez scored against West Ham earlier in the season. Jota's just got his 2. That's probably overthinking it completely. We'll let the other 2 say something completely different, and we'll see.
I agree. I think Jota probably suits the home game against Forest more than the West Ham away. I think that's more chance for counter-attacking and Núñez getting in behind. But I mean, as you said, Theo, just on the midfield there, Fabinho is probably the most likely Liverpool player to get a booking when he plays. It's going to happen at some point, and I don't think you can really afford to drop him. I mean, I don't think the Spurs midfield is exactly a huge problem for Liverpool if they were missing Fabinho for that one. But I mean, Kiefer, then, if you want to choose your attack as well, there's a little bit of a selection headache, I suppose, but then I think you're all pointing towards Diogo Jota, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said it earlier. I'd unchanged for me. I think obviously maybe if Firmino didn't have this muscle injury, you could put an argument up for him to get a start. But obviously Gakpo is obviously the kind of suitable replacement now, so he keeps his place. Obviously Salah on the right, and then obviously it's a toss up between Jota and Núñez. But as you say, I think maybe the game at West Ham would maybe suit Núñez a bit more, looking to stretch teams in behind. I think at Anfield you would think Liverpool would have enough to. Enough opportunities to kind of punish Forest, and obviously Jota, fresh from his 2-goal brace at Ellen Road. It's the perfect time. I just think it'd be very counterproductive to put him to the bench now, let him get another run out where Liverpool dominate possession, and hopefully he can kind of fill his hat with goals.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, and Gorsty, if you want to round off our team selector then with your attack, I think I know the answer, but if you want to talk us through anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to bring Núñez back in for Jota, actually, because I think, we obviously scored his 2 goals tonight, Jota, but he's played a lot of football for someone who hasn't played a lot of football, if you like. So I think this might be a good one to bring him out and maybe reserve him for is it Tuesday night? Wednesday night at West Ham? Yeah. Yeah, and I think Núñez will be chomping at the bit as well, given we come off the bench in slotted that one away, didn't he, on Monday night? So Nunes on the left, Gakpo and Salah.
Yeah, I mean, a nice little curveball there to round us off, Gort, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure who the Nottingham Forest right-hand side centre-half is, but I think Liverpool, could thrive against a 5 at the back if Forest do still up for that tactic.